A very warm good afternoon to everyone. This is Shruti Anand, journalist at K12 News, and I'm very delighted being virtually present with Mr. S. Sriram, Principal, Demand School. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Welcome to K12 Talks 2020. How are you?
Good afternoon, Shruti. Thank you so much. I am well and looking forward to an entertaining and enrichful session this afternoon.
We hope the very same. So, thank you so much for your contribution in K12 Talks 2020. And I would like to tell my viewers before proceeding ahead. Demand School, as per the Times of India School Survey 2019, Demand School has been ranked 7th amongst India's top co-ed residential school. Congratulations, sir, on that.
Thank you.
Also, Demand School is ranked 10th amongst the India's top day come boarding schools. And so very much congratulations on that as well. I hope the wall of achievements goes on increasing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, beginning with our session, how do you think, as the principal of the school, how do you think that the life of students and the teachers is affected due to the current situation of pandemic and due to the students not being able to visit the schools?
Um, See, let's first get this very clear that definitely the pandemic has created a huge disruption in terms of the educational transaction that happens across the country. The academic goals of students have been affected to a considerable extent. And these online classes can at best be a stopgap arrangement. I mean, it is not a perfect replacement to the normal schooling that happens.
Okay.
Though that there is a 30% reduction in the syllabus which the CBSE has announced. I mean, since we are a CBSE school, I'm referring to CBSE, and I think this is a norm which has been practiced by most other boards as well. That there has been a reduction in syllabus, but that this is only to compensate the loss for the normal school to some extent. But then even the 70% of the syllabus on which they are going to be assessed, it is a challenge because the type of education that happens in a normal school is not happening. I mean, the students are finding it rather difficult to comprehend the concepts because they are also used to a particular way of learning things. So suddenly, this
Right.
disruption has, in fact, caused all these problems during the COVID time. And another point is regarding the practical knowledge of the subject. Uh, as you are aware, especially the science subjects like physics, chemistry, computer science, and biology, they're all practical based subjects. So with students sitting at home, though of course CBSE has given the portal of OLabs in with Amrita University, they have done something about it. But it again, these are stopgap measures. But the real practical knowledge that one would get in a laboratory setup, that is missing. And last but not the least, in terms of the students, the social and emotional skills that gets developed in students when they are at school, the various sporting activities, those soft skills like peer learning, leadership qualities, ethics, values, and all these things are completely missing. And this is going to be a major factor, especially for this batch, if this disruption is going to happen for a long time. So this has been the case as far as the students are concerned. In terms of teachers, I think they have embraced technology and learned the way of online teaching, even though that was not their cup of tea. But please remember, technology is only an enabler. Pedagogy still is the most important thing that one has to practice in the classroom, the right kind of transaction that can help the teaching reach the students. Teachers are spending more time in preparing the lessons electronically. They are more comfortable in having the students in front of them. Those lively classroom interactions that happen, with doubts being asked immediately at that point in time, all those things are missing. And of course, last, from the teacher's point of view, there is no foolproof way to evaluate the student in terms of assessing them as to what has been the knowledge assimilation that has happened in the students, whatever has been taught through online medium. So these are some of the things that comes to my mind in terms of the problems that COVID has cost us to the fraternity of students and teachers.
Right, sir. Very well said. These are the major problems that I believe the teachers must be facing. So,
Yeah.
moving ahead, how do you think that due to this pandemic, the fee structure of the particular schools, or especially your school, has been affected?
You see, it's a huge crisis, to be frank. Um the major problem here is the government orders which come from the state governments are highly misleading and interpreted differently by different parties. The parents are interpreting it in their favor, whereas the school management is interpreting it in their favor. For example, I'll give you I'll give you one small example, and this is regarding the fee for the lockdown period. Now, when we talk about lockdown, even the period of lockdown is not clarified. In terms of the school, they say the lockdown is over because primarily what was given as an incentive to the parents of paying lesser fee was because of the business establishments that were closed during the pandemic time. But now that that is open, the school is interpreting that the lockdown is over, whereas the parents are interpreting that since the school is not reopened, the lockdown period still continues. So this is one
Right.
example that I'm giving you, so that these kind of misleading factors have created a huge rift between parents and the school management. But I wish to say that the boarding schools are badly affected in this case compared to the day schools, as the overhead costs are very, very high in terms of a boarding school. Like Man School is day come boarding school, so we have a huge part of the campus that has to be maintained, and the workforce that we have in the school are nearly four times, or rather five times, that you normally find in a day school. So the salary costs and other overhead costs in terms of maintaining the campuses, like for example, we have horse riding as one of the hobbies. Now, what do we do with the horses during this time? I have to maintain them, so I need money. So, but the parents are saying, since the school is not functional, take only the tuition fee, which is required for the salaries, and leave the rest to us. Man School, for your information, I have given a 31% discount to the boarding parents for those unutilized services which the boarders would normally avail. So we have done our part. It's not that we are not doing, but then asking for a complete waiver in terms of all the fees except the tuition fee is something which boarding schools can't bear. Also, there are some concern for parents genuinely, where their jobs have been affected, their salaries have been affected. The school is viewing them compassionately, and we have given room for them to make payments in a delayed manner. We have also, adhering to the government guidelines, making them pay the fee on a monthly basis. But unfortunate part is some of the well-to-do parents are taking advantage under the garb of not being able to pay when they are very much able to pay. uh, if you see the whole aspect in totality, if you go by what the parents say, pay us, give us a relief in terms of the unutilized services. Please also understand, the teachers are working more today because they have to
Right.
prepare for the electronic classes. So they are working more. So if that means the admin costs are higher, the school has to take higher bandwidth for disseminating these lessons. So if these are calculated in the same way as the parents are asking an advantage, then probably I'll have to pay the teachers more because they're working more. So this is not the way to really go about this. It is highly demoralizing for the teachers when they end up getting paid less, or in some cases not being paid, or worse, lose the job. Uh,
Right.
Unfortunately, the worst thing in this whole scenario is, what are the parents passing on to their children in terms of ethics? Tomorrow, the child is at a stage where he's learning each and everything what is happening. He knows very well, they are mature children. He knows how the parents are dealing with the school in terms of the dilemma that has been caused by the pandemic. So, are you giving the right lessons to your children? Is something which they will have to question themselves. And last, I would like to tell the parents that education is an investment, not an expenditure. So if you consider it as an expenditure, you will find it rather difficult pill to swallow. But if you consider it as an investment, and think about the teachers that have gone out of the way, the educational warriors, to teach your children during this time, I think it is worth paying the fee to the school so that their salaries are paid up.
Absolutely, sir. I do agree with this point. We have been following up this motto since the beginning of this event, that the teachers, students, parents, principals, and the educationists are the warrior of this pandemic situation, and
Yes.
everybody is suffering in their own ways. As far as the teachers are concerned, I truly believe that the work If it was supposed to be 100%, it has now gone up to
Yes,
300%,
yes,
because teaching online is a whole new different task,
yes,
whereas we have been following the ways of the old ages, as it was sitting together in person and thereafter teaching the students. I
yes.
truly agree with all the points here, sir. So moving forward, as per the national education policies, and how do you think and what are your suggestions on its implementation during such times, during such pandemic, how it can be implemented, and what can be the improvements here? What are your suggestions, sir?
See, first thing first, NEP, the guidelines that have come now is only a policy. I mean, it's not a action plan. So the national curriculum framework has to come in. So we need to wait for some time. It's not going to be rolled out, if you ask me, in the pandemic period. It's going to take its own time. I think the government has already come out with the plan that most likely in the year 21-22 is the time when it is most likely to be rolled out. Shruti, unfortunately, in our country, we are good at making rules and regulations. We have a fantastic constitution, but there are seldom people who follow it. So, similarly,
Right.
NEP as a policy is a wonderful document. It's got every areas that were lacking covered as far as taking education to the next level. But then the government should have a foolproof implementation plan. That is the topmost point that I would stress on in case this NEP has to see the light of the day. The second one is the budgetary allocation on education should go up to nearly 6 to 7% of the GDP. Way back in the late 60s, the Kothari Committee, if I'm right, suggested that the GDP, the percentage of GDP to in education should be around 6%. After nearly 40 years, we are there somewhere around 3 to 4%. Uh, so we have a long way to go. So unless and until government pumps up the money that is required for implementation of various policies that have been specified in NEP, this is not going to happen. There are
Okay.
many good ideas in NEP. In fact, some of the policies like the early childhood care education, the foundational literacy and numeracy, the 5+3+3+4 system in place of the 10+2, the concept of coming out of the rote learning that we are so much into, the amalgamation of the various streams and no hardwalling between them, the student-centric approach, the interdisciplinary and multidimensional way of teaching, equal importance to sports, co-curricular, character building, the importance to teachers in terms of their CPD, the continuous professional development, the vocational education, the NAC, the PARAK, the SSRA, the school clusters to club with the private school, government school partnership, are wonderful measures. I mean, these are I can call it as a watershed moment in time in terms of educational administration and uh, outcomes that we can look forward in the times to come. But again, yes, the government has to be sincere. They have to walk the talk. The proof of the pudding lies in the eating. So unless and until the government implements these policies, what have been specified, we are not going to reach there. The third aspect is regarding the teachers, who should be treated with dignity, and they will primarily be responsible for the rollout. So please understand, if you don't look after the people who are going to roll out this for you, things are not going to be easy for you. Also, I have a few suggestions. The government can involve some of the renowned NGOs, not the normal NGOs. There are plenty of them in India. So if they can involve some of the NGOs that are already doing some good work in education field, I think, and some voluntary agencies, I think it will be a good move. The government should prepare a practical national curriculum framework in alignment with NEP. So the NEP and NCF should be, should work in tandem to ensure that the policies that are mentioned in NEP should be implementable. One big thing which I have been hearing from many industry experts is that there is a de-link between what has been taught, especially in the higher education segment, to what the industry needs. So if we can align the industry needs with effective skill development and appropriate curriculum, right from the schooling time till the higher education, I think that will be creating a platform or a ladder for the companies to absorb all these talents into the respective areas. And last but not the least, Allow technology to play a bigger role. Let concepts like big data, data analytics come in, and let artificial intelligence play a role. I mean, we will have some fantastic inputs and insights into how the education can be, taken forward and spread around the entire country, and effective implementation can take place. My only suggestion is be far-sighted. Don't look at a horizon of 3 to 5 years for anything, because by the time you wake up and you implement, it's already 5 to 6 years. So have a horizon of 15 to 20 years, think big, and go for the big push. And I'm sure if the government is serious about implementing NEP, we will have rich dividends in times to come.
So hopefully we'll have a change in here, and very soon all the suggestions that have been made, obviously some would be in the notice of the government, and we'll have a better ray of hope.
Yeah.
Very well said, sir. And also to all our commenters and viewers currently, they have a very good suggestion. They have agreed to it, sir, that education is not an expenditure, it is an investment. We have a huge line of commenters here. So very well said. And sir, on behalf of K12 News, I thank you for your contribution, for sharing your thoughts, your experiences, and for your time to contribute to K12 Talks 2020. We are really honored, sir, with your presence.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you for having me on the show, and it was a real pleasure to share my thoughts across to all the audiences.
Sir, it has been an honor. To all our viewers, thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And sir, you are truly the warrior of this pandemic for the K12 community. Thank you so much.
I'm not alone. I'm with my team of all the teachers. Yes, we are the education warriors. Thank you so much.